The signature account. The call came at 7:02 p.m., the kind of hour when shadows cling to glass and silence sharpens every sound. "Mr. Rahim," the voice said, smooth, practiced. "This is BankEdge. We just wanted to confirm, are you closing your account today?" I remember staring at the canvas before me, an unfinished skyline dripping with red and gold. My hand froze mid-stroke. "Closing?" I asked. "Yes, sir. The manager approved the request an hour ago. Signed authorization. Her name's Mrs. Sana Qureshi." My ex-wife. Her signature. My account. $700 million. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. The brush slipped from my fingers, hitting the concrete floor with a soft, pathetic sound. There was a pause. "Sir, are you still?" I ended the call. The city outside hummed in oblivion. I stood in the silence of my studio, surrounded by half-finished canvases, old receipts, and the echo of her name. Sana. The woman who once promised me forever, who now handled other people's fortunes with the same delicate fingers that once traced the lines of my jaw. I hadn't spoken to her in years, but her husband, her new husband, had spoken plenty. I still remember his smirk the day we met at the bank. He looked at me the way people look at a stain they can't wash off. "Why don't you cut ties with my wife?" he'd said. "You're just a struggling painter." That was 3 months ago. Now she'd just signed to close my account. I looked down at my reflection in the glossy floor. For the first time in years, I smiled. Sana wasn't always like this. When we met, she was fire wrapped in silk, sharp, ambitious, disarming. She said she loved my art because it was honest. That should have been my first warning. People who worship honesty usually end up fearing it. She left 3 years after our wedding. No screaming, no accusations, just a note on the counter. "You chose art over security. I'm choosing security over art." Her words stayed, long after her scent faded from the sheets. After she left, I buried myself in work. Portraits, cityscapes, corporate commissions. I built my reputation quietly. I built my fortune even quieter. My clients were discreet. My deals silent. Sana never knew the numbers. She never cared to ask. Then, a year ago, I learned she'd married again. Adnan Qureshi, corporate lawyer, partner at his own firm, polished, educated, obsessed with power. He introduced himself to me at a gallery event, hand extended, smile too bright. "You're the painter, right?" he'd said. "Sana told me about you." The painter? Not the CEO, not the owner of Rahim Real Estate Holdings, not the man who quietly controlled properties across Karachi, Dubai, and London, just the painter. I didn't correct him. I never correct people who underestimate me. They serve better when they don't know what they're serving. That day at the bank, when he leaned across the polished desk and whispered, "You should stop calling my wife for account matters. She's moved on." I only nodded. He thought I was just another sentimental fool clutching an ex-wife's shadow. He didn't know that the account she managed, the minor client file she probably bragged about, was the largest private deposit in the bank, $700 million, and every cent was mine. I didn't react that night. I never do. Instead, I began to trace, quietly, transaction records, transfer logs, internal correspondence. Everything leaves a digital scent if you know where to look. I wasn't a hacker, but I didn't need to be. I owned one of the firms that secured the bank's digital infrastructure. In 48 hours, I knew everything. Adnan had debts, heavy ones. Real estate investments gone wrong. Lawsuits pending. He was months away from a financial collapse. And Sana? She'd been covering for him, shifting funds, approving backdated transfers, falsifying authorizations. She was using my account to clean his mistakes. I felt no rage, no heartbreak, only a cold, precise clarity. I remember walking into my studio that week, studying one of my older pieces, an oil painting of a city submerged in floodwater, lights flickering beneath the surface. I'd called it The Drowning. How fitting. Every brushstroke felt like prophecy. I started preparing. Documents, legal forms, authorizations, board notices, all in silence. When my assistant asked why I wanted to reassign ownership of my assets to the firm, I only said, insurance. By the time Sana and Adnan realized what was happening, it would be too late. Still, I wanted to see them one last time. Not for closure, for confirmation. To watch the guilt settle into their eyes before I erased them from my world. 2 weeks later, I scheduled an appointment at the bank. Sana looked radiant in her tailored suit, the manager's badge pinned just above her heart. She smiled when she saw me. Polite, professional, hollow. "Rahim," she said, "it's been a long time." Adnan sat beside her, phone in hand, pretending to be bored. I placed a sealed envelope on the desk. Inside were audit reports, transfer trails, and her forged signature copies. Her hands trembled before she even opened it. What is this?" she whispered. Adnan leaned forward, scanning the papers. His face drained of color. "This isn't what it looks like." "It's exactly what it looks like," I said quietly. Silence fell, heavy, thick. Her eyes met mine, pleading, searching. "You?" I nodded. "For how long?" "Long enough to let you bury yourself." Adnan slammed the paper shut. "You can't prove any of this." The bank already knows," I said. "So does the state bank. So does the media. By morning, your firm's reputation will collapse." He opened his mouth, but I wasn't looking at him anymore. I was looking at her, the woman who once said she loved my honesty, now sitting across from me, drowning in it. I slid another form across the table, a closure request. Same signature line she'd signed before, except this time the closure wasn't hers. It was mine. Her voice cracked. "Rahim, please, don't do this." Adnan's face twisted in panic. "You'll ruin us." I already did. I leaned back in the chair, the calm of inevitability settling in my chest. "You told me to cut ties with your wife," I said, eyes fixed on Adnan. "I'm just following orders." He lunged forward, but security stepped in. 2 guards, silent and efficient. Sana called my name as they escorted him out, her voice trembling with something between regret and realization. "Rahim, I didn't mean for it to go this far." I stood slowly, gathering the folder. "You never mean it, Sana. That's the problem." I walked to the door, paused, and turned once more. "Oh, and one more thing," I said quietly. "That account you closed? It wasn't mine. It was the bank's liquidity buffer. The real one was offshore, under your approval." Her face went pale. It would take her exactly 3 days to realize that her signature had legally authorized a $700 million withdrawal from a trust in her name, and another 3 to understand that Adnan's firm, her husband's pride, was now under investigation for corporate fraud. By then, I'd already be gone. I watched the city fade from the plane window that night, lights bleeding into darkness. They say revenge is sweet. It isn't. It's sterile, clinical, like surgery. You don't do it for pleasure. You do it to remove the infection. I thought of Sana, her trembling hands, her husband's silent panic. Then I thought of the painting in my studio, The Drowning. Maybe I'd finish it someday. Maybe I wouldn't. Some stories don't need an ending, just a silence. As the plane lifted through the clouds, I reached into my coat pocket and found the old note she'd left me years ago. "You chose art over security." I smiled faintly. "I chose truth," I whispered. And as the city vanished below, I realized there's no greater masterpiece than watching liars choke on their own perfection. I didn't destroy them out of anger. I simply let their truth breathe, and it suffocated.